The day has finally arrived, mis amigos, where I do a review of my 2022 language learning goals for Spanish. I use the SMART goals approach to set my goals for this year, and SMART stands for specific, measurable, assignable, realistic, and time-related. The first goal on my list was to be able to translate a 1-hour conversation going from English to Spanish and also from Spanish to English. And my plan for that was to be able to interpret one YouTube video that was 15 minutes long, and I was going to do that every single day. So a YouTube video that was related to something about the news. I did not reach this goal at all. I basically stopped trying to reach this goal within like the first month or 2 months of this year because I just got really bored for the most part. And the reason why I decided that I actually wanted to reach a goal like this is because at the end of 2021, I got really interested in learning about how I can actually use my language skills. Then I started to learn a ton about the interpreting industry. And not only that, I actually purchased the Community Interpreter online training, and that was 40 hours long. And this online community interpreting training was provided by Cross Cultural Communications. So my plan was to be able to do this online training and then also do my Spanish studies at the same time. But what I found out really fast is that this online training took a lot of energy out of me and also a lot of time. And that just left a little bit of energy for my actual Spanish studies. The other issue was I actually didn't realize how difficult it was to interpret in between two different languages. It's not the same type of skill as having a conversation in Spanish with a native Spanish speaker. It's actually fairly different because you have to figure out what equates one phrase in one language to the next language. One example is you probably won't say está lloviendo perros y gatos in Spanish. Maybe that won't make sense. And that in English is it's raining cats and dogs. So I found this to be very challenging when I was trying to interpret these different videos on YouTube. I could not actually interpret for the full 15 minutes. It was maybe just a few phrases and some words I could actually interpret, but it wasn't the whole video. And this actually really discouraged me because I realized that I lacked a lot of vocabulary and that I just did not know really how to find the correct words that I really wanted to say. So basically, I just got really frustrated. I got unmotivated, and then I ended up just not attempting to interpret these videos anymore during my Spanish study sessions because it just seemed like that there was really no point. And if I actually did want to be able to do this for a full 15 minutes, it was going to take many months of getting all the correct vocabulary or even years. Now, the second goal on my list was to be able to know more about how to cook in Spanish. And my plan for that was to memorize 5 phrases a week and watch 30 minutes of Top Chef Mexico every week. I keep forgetting the name of the show. So I looked on YouTube. It's actually called Master Chef Latinos. So if you go on that channel, there's a whole bunch of videos just in case you're interested. I would say I was quite successful in reaching this goal because I was watching a ton of these videos on MasterChef Latinos, and I was watching other videos about how to cook different recipes all in Spanish. I even have some flashcards here to prove it. Some things that I was learning and I was writing down were el repollo, la ralladura, one of my favorite words now in Spanish, cremosa, si no removemos, se disuelve, trocear, descongelar, pochar, y endulzar. So I was definitely learning a decent amount of new phrases and words about cooking in Spanish. And I was very proud of myself. But then, for whatever reason, I just got really bored with watching these YouTube videos over and over again, writing down flashcards, and then reviewing these flashcards. So I just stopped doing that completely. And which is really strange because usually I love to binge watch YouTube videos, especially if they are in Spanish. But for some reason, with cooking and watching people make different recipes in Spanish, it just really started to get boring for me. So unfortunately, I did not reach that that goal. But one thing, at least what I started to do throughout this year, was post a lot of videos on my Instagram story about me talking about food, talking about the food that I was making in my kitchen, and then also about the food that I was eating that I would get from a Mexican restaurant or something like that. So at the very least, I was still trying to develop my vocabulary that was related to cooking and the kitchen in general. And a big reason why I had this goal in the first place is because I really wanted to start connecting more with Spanish speakers, because I started to realize after talking with more and more people how important food is and how many different types of food items that there is and a whole bunch of different processes that I would have never imagined before. So I wanted to be able to have longer conversations about food, how to prepare them, and things like that. The next goal on this list was to memorize a lot of Proverbs from La Santa Biblia. And the plan for that was to memorize 5 Proverbs every single month. And I definitely stopped doing this within the first month. So I had a few flashcards. I think I have a total of maybe 5 flashcards, and I was trying to memorize them. So I was studying the flashcards and reading off them, reading out loud, and that got extremely boring. And I mean, very, very boring. And I just ended up not going after this goal after the first month of this year. So after January 2022, I stopped going after this goal. One of the main reasons why I set this goal was so I can be able to speak with more complex sentences in Spanish. Because when I saw those Proverbs, I saw a lot of vocabulary and then also sentence structure that I wasn't very familiar with. And they were also using the vosotros form of Spanish. So it seemed a little bit like old Spain Spanish. And for me, that's just kind of fascinating in general because I'm just a language nerd. So I like looking at all different types of Spanish, from poetry. In this case, we're talking about different types of proverbs, and then any other types of complex language I just love to read about. Next up on the list is to memorize more songs in Spanish. And the plan for that was to memorize 1 bachata song every month, so a total of 12 for the full year of 2022. I set this goal because I am very passionate about music in Spanish. And actually, I just got recently introduced to bachata last year. With more bachata songs memorized meant that I was going to be able to sing along to more songs in Spanish, and then also be able to have conversations a little bit more in depth about music. So that was the whole plan. And the funny thing is, I did not memorize 1 bachata song this whole entire year. The thing is, for a lot of the bachata songs that I have listened to over and over again, I probably only know 70% of the lyrics, but not 100% of the lyrics. And a big reason for not reaching this goal this year was not taking the time to sit down and actually read the lyrics on the computer or on my phone or something like that, and try to, sing along to the song and then also reading the lyrics at the same time. I did not do that really this year at all. Maybe for a few songs, maybe for salsa, but not for bachata. And for that reason, I don't have any bachata songs that I have fully memorized, unfortunately. So maybe that is a goal that I can put for next year in 2023. The next goal on my list was to be able to increase the amount of gym vocabulary that I have in Spanish. So one thing that really inspired me to set a goal like this was me having a lot of conversations with one of my friends from Guatemala in the gym. So one thing for me was that I had a very difficult time talking about the different exercises that I was going to be doing or the different exercises that I was doing with him. So he would ask me, oh, ¿qué estás trabajando? Or ¿qué vas a tocar? Or algo así, or something like that. And I didn't really know how to respond. So to be able to have more in-depth conversations with him, I wanted to have a goal like this. So my plan to actually reach this goal was to memorize 5 new phrases a week and to watch 30 minutes of a fitness instructor that was speaking in Spanish, but then also giving some type of training to one of their clients, or just watching a video about someone talking about fitness and health and eating correctly and things like that. The sad part is I really didn't watch any of these videos at all during this year because I had a plan of watching the YouTube videos that were connected to cooking and the kitchen for January and February. And then for like March and then April, I really wanted to focus more on the gym vocabulary. But that plan got completely destroyed, so I wasn't watching these videos basically at all. I don't have any notes that I took after watching a video. I don't have any flashcards. I don't have a lot of anything. But one thing at least I did this year was still have conversations in Spanish at the gym with some Spanish speakers that I met. But other than that, I haven't really increased my vocabulary that much. And the good thing about me now reaching my language learning goals for Spanish in 2022 is the fact that I have learned so much. I've learned a lot about myself. What type of language learner am I? What type of resources do I like to use when I'm learning Spanish? And also, what type of goals should I be setting for learning Spanish? I also want to hear about your experience. Let me know in the comment section below, what were your language learning goals for 2022 and how many of them did you reach? Thank you very much for watching this video. Make sure that you share it with all of your language learning friends and tap or click on the screen so you can watch more videos about my Spanish learning journey. Te veo en el próximo video.